Hey, Chris Lipe here. I want to address a way of thinking and a way of describing singing that is working against a lot of vocalists. You've heard me speak a little bit about this with pepperings of comments in other videos on this channel, but I hear enough people say this and see enough wrong happening because of it that I felt it warranted a dedicated video. How many of you have either been told or told yourself, I sound too nasal? I don't like that nasal sound. I've gotten emails from people saying that someone in their family or one of their friends heard them sing and said, you sound too nasal, you should fix that. This is a dangerous thing to say and a dangerous thing to act upon. If anybody is telling you that you sound too nasal, they don't know what they're talking about. If you are attributing some quality in your voice to being too nasal, you don't know what you're talking about. And you are setting yourself on a path for limiting your potential as a vocalist severely and possibly causing yourself to get into some habits that could cause damage later. So hear me out in this video. I'm going to show you how nasal, using your nasal passages when you sing, is actually one of the best things you can do for your singing voice. Then we start to think, oh, nasal is the problem. Nasal's not the problem. Airflow is the problem. Now, before we go any further, I'm going to cover the very tip of the iceberg on the potential we have for truly understanding how sound passes through our face in this video. If you want to take this stuff deeper, if you want to dial in your own voice and discover what it can really do, be sure to click the link below and join my free vocal course. Okay, so nasal. Almost 100% of the time, when someone says something along the lines of this person sounds too nasal or you sound too nasal, they're making an accusation. They're actually not hearing the problem correctly. They might hear a lack of support. They might hear potentially poor placement of one's voice. But if your voice is placed correctly, and if you are using the proper support, you're going to be making use very efficiently and very prominently of your nasal cavity, and it's going to sound better. What ends up happening is we internalize this phrase, he sounds too nasal, and then we work against a good voice because we end up consciously shutting off our nasal cavity while we sing. And I'm going to demonstrate some things in a moment that don't sound good, that end up happening when people go, oh, I sound too nasal. I better not sing through my nose. I better shut off that area so that I sound better and so that people stop saying that I sound nasal. I don't want to sound nasal. Nasal is bad. Nasal is good. You've also likely heard it said that forward singing or forward placement is really good. It's a good attribute of singing. What's ironic about this is that in order to have forward placement as a vocalist, and I'm going to unpack that phrase a bit more in this lesson as well, you have to be using your nasal cavity in order to do that. So the same people or critics or people who don't know what they're talking about who are saying, you sound too nasal, are also probably agreeing, whether they know it or not, that they like the sound of forward placement in singers. All the singers that you and I have grown into loving over the years, and certainly many of the ones that I've covered on this channel so far, have a very masterful command of how to use their nasal passage for forward placement, for tapping into mixed voice, for increasing their range, for getting a good resonant sound. Your nasal passage is a way to improve resonance in any of your registers. So let's discover how cool nasal singing can be. Let's start by working with the word run. Now, I want you to be attentive to what's happening to your nasal cavity when you say the word run. Run. In order to properly say that word, run. Run. There is a lot of air going through your nose. It's going up this way and out your nose. Run. If I were to consciously plug that up like this, run, I could not say the N. And the well, let's start with the R. So here's my R through my nose, allowing air passage through my nose. Here it is without it. Without. There it is with. Air through my nasal passage. Air not through my nasal passage. Now, let's go to that's nasal passage open. Closed. Open. Closed. And then, of course, nasal passage open, closed. Now, in each of those examples, what I feel and hear, and hopefully you're hearing it through the mic too, is that when I shut off my nasal passage, my voice retreats into my body, namely the back of my throat. I stop feeling the resonance in my face, and I feel it in the back. I feel it here. Here is where we store most of our tension unconsciously when we try to sing. And so if we are cutting off this resonant area as we sing or speak, if we're cutting that off, we are focusing on the fact that we are generating our sound from here, and then it stops from here, and then the sound that we are making is not projected out our face, and we don't get the power or the presence that we want to get. And so when people start saying, or when you start saying, I sound too nasal, they end up making their voice retreat into their body. They lose resonance, they lose power, and they lose presence. So let's say this word and focus. Instead of doing this, I don't want to sound nasal, we're actually going to make it sound more nasal, and we're going to place this word, the whole of the word, in our face. We're going to feel it here, we're going to feel it coming out our nose. We're going to place our voice forward. And we're going to sing a note. Start with R. Feel it coming through your nose. You should feel it vibrating here. Try it in various places with various types of notes, and you can grit it up, you can clean it up, you can sing in your head voice, your deeper voice, your chesty voice. Do it all over the place, but focus it here. Make it go through your nose. Run, run, run. Now, Let me give you some examples in singing notes of it closed versus open. Nasal passage closed versus nasal passage open. Run, 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 run. I think you can hear the difference. Run, run, run. So let me demonstrate a few incidences of intentionally going nasal and then intentionally moderating the airflow through the nasal cavity. So bringing it back or choosing not to go through this area for certain effects, but then bringing it back into the nasal area to create a cool sound. Run, 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 run. I'm going to go to the word free. Now I want you to do this. I want you to say the word free, free. And I want you to practice turning off and turning on your nasal passage. Free. Exaggerate it so that you get that feeling. Free. Free. Now you're going to notice that when you turn that on and off, your tendency is going to be to drop your larynx when you're shutting it off. Free. And raising it when you turn it on. That's normal, but you don't have to do that. You can leave your larynx in the same place. Free. And have the nasal passage turn on and off. And it's important to be able to do that and to recognize it. Now, there are instances where the nasal can work against you. The nasal sound can work against you. Let's say it that way. But most of the time, you are feeling a bad nasal sound. It's because you're not supporting it right, and you're actually letting too much air through unconsciously. Let me explain this a little bit. It has a little bit to do with compression singing. So if I'm singing this note, free, that's not a great quality for a note. Free. But I think if I deconstruct that note and how I'm singing it, free, it would sound better probably like this. Free. My nasal passage is still open there. But when I'm doing this, free, free, I'm actually letting whisper sound through my vocal cords. Free, free, free. And you can do that whether you're opening your nasal passage or not. Free, 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 free. Notice I'm letting air through my vocal cords as well as the note. Now, if you watch my Miles Kennedy video, he's very good at doing this strategically. This is also another great singing technique. But sometimes we let these things happen unconsciously. We're letting too much air through. We're not using the proper amount, or we're not using compression the right way. Watch my video on compression if you need more on this. But what ends up happening is we sing like this. Free, 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 free. And then we start to think, oh, nasal is the problem. Nasal's not the problem. Airflow is the problem. Airflow is the problem. Make sure that you understand that. Proper airflow is going to help you sound confident and forward with good nasal placement. Free, 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 free. Let's be conscious about what we're doing. Let's add some compression and support. Free. Keep our nasal passage open. Free, free, free. Run, free. Run, free. Whoa. Won't you run free? Now, those of you who've been keeping up with the channel for a while know that I like to put myself in a musical environment and apply this stuff in a way that helps me sink into a real musical application and not just making noise. It's great to start with making noise and exaggerate some of those noises to discover things about our voice, but let's take it to some music. So I have this simple revolving synth pad pulled up, and I'm gonna put the headphones on, I'm gonna listen to it, I'm gonna sink into it, and I'm gonna focus on singing forward, using my nasal passage to create full sounding resonant sounds. And I'm gonna use those two words, run and free, to do this. And I'll demonstrate it both ways. See if you can hear the difference. Run free, run free, run, run free. Nice wide open nasal. Run, closed. Run, open. Run, run, run. Yeah, I'm running free. I'm running free. The bottom line is, having the ability to consciously manage, particularly your nasal placement, will provide more room for air to flow out the right places and allow you to utilize the power you're giving yourself with properly dialed in support, it'll allow you to utilize that in a better way, in a more efficient way. Again, if you want more help dialing in your voice, discovering what it can really do, join my free vocal course linked below. Be sure to leave comments here. Let me know what you think. This is a controversial topic, and I'd love to get a discussion going in the comments about it. We'll see you for more.